Got a little bit of news. There was an article from Jeff Passan on ESPN about Bryce Harper and Rob Manfred's interaction in the clubhouse in Philadelphia, which was notable. So we'll talk about that off the top. We'll also talk about Seth Lugo signing an extension with Kansas City and effectively taking himself off the market, and KC taking him off the trade market. And then one final test of contention for all 30 teams. Are they contenders as is? Is there work to do? Should they soft sell positioning for next year, or are they full blown sellers? So we're just going to kind of tier baseball in our last go before the trade deadline. Trade deadline is on Thursday at 6 p.m. The last episode that you will hear before the deadline will be recorded on Wednesday. So that'll be highlighting all the trades kind of leading up to the deadline. And then, programming note, we're going to be doing a live stream during the deadline. So the hour leading up to the trade deadline, spanning 30 minutes after the trade deadline concludes at 6 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. All that plugged. I'm Jack. He's Aram. Just Baseball Show. For Tuesday, July 29th, it is, as always, brought to you by the fine folks at BetMGM. There's not as much to talk about today on the trade front as I feel like there typically is at this juncture. And you guys
Yeah.
check boxes of Eric Fetty and Randall Grichuk and Ryan McMahon being the big one. It's not sexy right now, but it's happening, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it was funny. We were talking about like the Royals a little bit, and then we knew something was going to happen the second after we stopped recording. And sure enough, the Royals end up, extending Seth Lugo, which I think if you're a team that's potentially moving some starting pitching, you're probably pumped about that, right? So, but it also creates this holding pattern even more because who wants to be the first to go? And I think you saw the Diamondbacks maybe we thought maybe spark the market with the Josh Naylor trade because I thought he was the most significant. I even think like Ryan McMahon and Randall Grichuk and some of the other players that we're talking about. Like I don't think that's going to make teams be like, oh shit, this thing's starting to go now. Like we can't miss out. We need to start giving our more serious offers. When Naylor went, like that's a player that I think a lot of teams could have utilized, and I'm sure a lot of teams were interested in. So now it's like, okay, we need to start getting serious here with some of our calls. But as you know, there's a lot of back and forth. And I imagine that yesterday, it's funny, nothing happens on our front. I imagine so much was happening behind the scenes. Just no deals have been agreed upon yet because we need to get a little bit closer to that deadline. But I have a feeling today, as we're recording this on Monday, by the time this episode's out, there's going to be some stuff that already happens. And then I don't know what you think, but I think Tuesday is where we really start to see the flurry.
Probably. The other big one is Thursday is an off day for many in Major League
Mhm.
Baseball. I think it could be as active a deadline day as we've seen recently because if you're gearing up for a baseball game, like chances are you're being pulled in a couple other different directions. Although
And
at the
every
end of the
game is a little bit of clarity for these teams that we're
it's a
talking
little
about with the
bit.
expanded playoffs.
It's a little bit. I do feel like you could see the day slate go through on Wednesday, and then all of a sudden Wednesday night you see things cross the finish line, and then Thursday morning we could see so much cross the finish line because there's a lot of time for people to get deals done and all
Yeah,
that. So
and no more games to happen like to change the standings in any which way. So,
exactly, and it does
yeah,
feel like I'm not playing this game every year. It does feel like this year there are more teams in murky waters than we have pretty much every year, which is the sake of the episode.
yeah, and then I think that's the fun part about the expanded playoffs is you have a lot of teams that have a chance, but you also have to be honest with yourself. Like yesterday, Peter and I were talking about the Rays. Yes, the Rays are only 3 games out, but they've lost four in a row. They are trending in the complete opposite direction of a Rangers team that's won six in a row. So you got to be honest with yourself and decide where you're at. But if they rattle off two more wins and they're a game back all of a sudden, let's say the Rangers drop two, then you can't really sell if you're waiting, up until the final day. So it really shows you how fluid these things are. The Guardians all of a sudden playing better ball. They win a couple in a row. If they're two and a half back, do you sell as much as you were thinking about selling? So I think that part of it is really fascinating. I think we even saw the Royals, who are completely banged up, deciding that not only are they going to add with the Grichuk, who I think just clearly helps them now,
Yeah.
and I think they should have done that something like that going into this season, to be honest. But also said, hey, we're not even thinking about really selling it all because we want to gear up for next year too. Like we want to keep this group together. We think we're a few bats away from being competitive. And you know what? I actually applaud that. I think we need to see more teams do that, even when they're trending a little bit below, the 500 mark.
I applaud that too. My only thing is I look at this free agent class and I say, okay, how do the Royals push themselves over the top? Because all of the free agents that I'm intrigued by are mid to high level pitchers. It's not top of the class. Like there's not a $200 million pitcher out there, but there are a couple of $90 million pitchers out there, and there are a couple of $60 million pitchers out there. And I look at the bats, and if it's not, top of the market, then we're talking about guys signing a 1 year, $10 million deal.
Well, here's the good news. I don't think it's very hard to upgrade that outfield situation.
What do you
You
mean?
could
You
you
don't like John Rave?
well, you saw John Rave just well, I was there too with you, but John Rave just tortured the Marlins that one game. Yeah, the game of his life. I cannot believe, and respectfully, like I understand he's a phenomenal defender. The amount of ABs that Kyle Isbell has
It's
gotten,
amazing.
and again, I mean, I'm glad. Like I hope he gets as many game checks as humanly possible. But man, like it is crazy how much run this guy's gotten out there. I mean, you could name one of 10 of those 1 year, $7 million guys. And I think they're all going to be significantly better for them next year. You could look at Lane Thomas, who's been terrible this year. You could look at, I mean, Trent Grisham would be great to bring out there. Literally an elevated version of Kyle Isbell. Shit, Michael Conforto's been so bad. I still don't care. I think I would try it next year. Mike Yastrzemski, like we could go on and on, but I do agree. Like it is a more pitching driven market. But the good news is the bar is really low to upgrade their outfield situation, which is why even just trading a Andrew Hoffman for Randall Grichuk, like
Yeah.
I think they looked at it and said, hey, we're not going to buy necessarily, but
Yeah.
this is a really cheap way to clearly upgrade our outfield.
Yeah. We're going to expand on Lugo in a moment, but before that, I want to get to that Passan article on
Oh,
ESPN.com about the interaction between Bryce Harper and Rob Manfred. Rob Manfred will make his way into 30 clubhouses, whether it's a home clubhouse or a visiting clubhouse when a team comes to the Northeast, and he will chat with the player base of all 30 Major League Baseball teams every year. And he did that this past weekend in Philadelphia, and it got very contentious between a two-time MVP and the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Couple of quotes that I really want to highlight here from this, Passan article. Obviously, the headline is Harper told Manfred to get the fuck out of our clubhouse. That was an interesting one that jumped out. But Harper apparently said, and this is all sourced from Passan, if you want to speak about that, you can get the F out of our clubhouse. Manfred then immediately responded, he is, quote, not going to get the F out of here. Fascinating that it escalated that quickly from the commissioner as well, who is probably not supposed to drop F bombs around the players, but oh well.
no. No, I can almost picture it though. Like you have an angry Bryce Harper, just like kind of yelling it, and then just Rob Manfred just being like, "I'm not gonna get the fuck out of the
Right,
clubhouse."
100%.
Like, but yeah, because Manfred is like even keel. I will give him that, and like he's an attorney by trade. Like he knows how to, I think, manage and sometimes he maybe de-escalate the situation, say what he needs to say, but I think some of the wording and the way that he was phrasing things, I'm sure ticked Bryce Harper off because you'll notice Rob Manfred will never say the words salary cap. Like he won't
Ever,
actually say
ever.
them out loud ever. And that's a clear attorney play there for him. But I'm sure he was suggesting it so strongly. And Bryce Harper was probably just sitting on edge, just waiting for him to say the things that he knew he was going to say that were going to piss him off. And the second that happened, it was like, if you're gonna get here, if you're gonna be here to push anything, and if that's how it was interpreted by Harper, I felt like he was probably a pressure cooker, just waiting to go off. Where it's like, I know what you're gonna do. You better not do it. You better not do it. You better not do it. Oh, he did it. Boom,
Yeah.
and he's going. I I, I get it. We weren't there, so we can't really comment on it too much. I just think it's not a good look for anybody involved
No.
when that happens. I try to think like, okay, both sides probably at fault here, but at the same time, what does Manfred do if a player yells at him? But also, what did Manfred do to make the player yell at him? Because I know Bryce Harper's a passionate guy, but I think we've seen a very different Bryce Harper over the last few years. He's a lot
Of
more
course.
measured. He takes a lot of pride in being one of the leaders, and I think the representing the players, and I think that's where this came from. This came from the responsibility of I lead the charge. I'm one of the leaders of the players in this league, and
Yeah.
I need to advocate for them. and he's clearly fearless in doing so. But what did Manfred do to rub Harper the wrong way there in that meeting is interesting. Or was Harper already so charged up going into that meeting that it was almost inevitable anyways?
I would assume the latter, but again, we weren't there, so we have no idea. I will say a couple of good quotes from Nick Castellanos, and
So many good quotes from
so many
Nick
good quotes
Castellanos,
from
by
Nick
the way.
Castellanos. And I want to read two of them. Speaking to your point on Harper, just who he is, and he has, I guess tapered a little bit when it came to the fiery essence of him, but he's always been that guy.
He's
Castellanos
passionate.
told Passan, quote, "It was pretty intense, definitely passionate. Both of them, the commissioner giving it back to Bryce and Bryce giving it back to the commissioner. That's Harp. He's been doing this since he was 15 years old. It's just another day. I wasn't surprised." Okay, that's fair. The second quote that I want to read you from Castellanos. Rob seems to be in a pretty desperate place on how important it is to get this salary cap because he's floating the word lockout 2 years in advance of our collective bargaining agreement expiration. Castellanos said, quote, "That's nothing to throw around. That's the same thing as me saying in a marriage, I think divorce is a possibility. It's probably going to happen. You just don't say those things." I like that quote from him,
Yep.
and it is kind of the case. And there's another sublink in this. There's a hyperlink to Tony Clark, who's the head of the MLBPA, chatting, and Tony Clark has had his issues over the last
Oh,
couple of years.
uh-huh.
But Tony Clark called salary caps, quote, institutionalized collusion. I have a feeling things are getting far more drastic than they need to 2 years out of a CBA expiring.
That's why I'm like,
But
why are
that's what
we?
scares me about 27 is if it's this intense this early, and Harper said the players are fully prepared to lose 162 games in 2027, and he's saying this at the All-Star break in 2025, that's a little scary.
Yeah, but that's on Rob Manfred for the exact reason of or from the quote that you just presented from Castellanos. Manfred was very clear with his language. Everything that he says is as thoughtful as can be. That is who he is by nature. That's how he was trained.
And it rubs people the wrong way, I'm sure.
But also, when it does rub you the wrong way, it's almost compounding because it's like you knew that he thought about that and that was
Yes.
prepared. And he even mentioned that as like part of his defense when he kind of apologized for the hunk of metal comment.
Yeah.
Because he's like, normally everything I say is very thought out, and that wasn't very thought out because he thought it was a private conversation. He would never have said that publicly. The thing that is, I think, infuriating players and infuriating, at least I won't speak for you, but me, and I'd imagine you as well, is exactly what Castellanos is saying. Is why 2 years out are we already talking about the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
I didn't see players coming out here and saying, like, right out of the gate, we're ready for a lockout. They're willing, and I'm sure internally they're going to say that, but Manfred publicly was comfortable answering those questions. And you're so afraid to say the word or the words salary cap, but you're not afraid to say the word lockout.
You're right.
That's where I'm a little bit bothered. There was one other quote that I loved from Castellanos as well. He's just a quote machine. Quote, in the back of our heads, we're like, why are you talking to us like owning a baseball team is like owning a nail salon? Castellanos said that you're only going to be a functional business if you can make up the money that you put in this year. It's a great point. And this is the dumbest part is, I mean, how many major businesses do we see just like they're not profiting year over year? And don't worry, that's not a problem for MLB. But it's the value that you're creating, right? And the future earnings that you can have based on the audience growing and all the different things and the potential for monetization, all that. TV ratings are up. More people are going into the ballpark than ever, or at least in a long time.
Ticket prices are higher than ever. Concession prices are higher than ever.
And people are going as much as they have in the last decade.
Yes. And viewership cost is higher than ever. You mentioned ratings are up. Dude, these direct-to-streaming services, people are paying $20 a month per household to watch their team on TV.
And they're up. People are watching a bad ESPN product still more than ever right now on Sunday Night Baseball or whatever it may be. Those ratings are up as well. So all of those things are happening, and you're willing to punt that, and potentially stifle all of that momentum. How often do we hear about how McGuire and Sosa saved baseball and because everybody needed something to get them back into it because they lost so much trust with after the last lockout and everything like that. to just go and do it again potentially is crazy to me. And that's where it's short-sighted. And I think that's where the Castellanos quote even makes even more sense, because you could be looking at this and saying, look at how much earning potential we have
Yeah.
with butts and seats and people watching on TV and the evolution of streaming and so many plans that Manfred has, where I actually trust him on this front to potentially be able to create more revenue. You have the Japanese market, which he's talked about, which can be huge. You have all of these things that you're building
It can
towards.
be. It's big. It's bigger
Is
than the U.S. market already.
And he's patting himself on the back saying, look at all of these things that we're doing. Look at how much money we're creating. But if we don't have this salary cap, this is going to be too hard for these teams to run a business. It's just going to be too difficult. How can they both can't be true? Then you must not be doing that well with your job, Rob. So like, and I understand that he's just a representative of the owners, and at the end of the day, he is just a mouthpiece for them. But I just, that's the part where it's crazy to me, is you pat yourself on the back, you do your media tour, you tell everybody about how healthy baseball is and all the money that you're bringing in and all the future earnings that we're going to be able to bring in. But then we really need the salary cap for not only teams to be able to run, more easily, but also for things to be more equitable across the league, because right now it's just too top heavy, right? It's too easy for the big spenders, right? The Dodgers are really running away with this thing right now, huh? That's where you lose me. I mean, the Dodgers would be third in the NL Central, by the way.
The only little piece of pushback I give you is the sake of competitive balance. Like, competitive balance is easier to achieve with the salary cap. It is, and we've
Yeah.
seen that over the course of the other four major sports. And we see soccer, like Barcelona runs the world, right? Real Madrid runs the world. They don't have a cap, but we see in the NBA, like Oklahoma City can position themselves through a cap to be the best team in the world. So there's just no world that a team is like that's 25th in payroll is going to be the top of the league and they can create a dynasty. It just doesn't happen. Like, they can have that fever dream year, but you look at the World Series winners over the last however many years, and they're all, I don't know the exact stat, but like they're all top 10 in payroll.
No, I mean, that's valid for sure.
So like that's the pushback, but I understand the idea of stifling momentum if you do miss baseball games there. But what I will say is, like, the fact that we're having this conversation, I feel like it's a weird, improper positioning from the commissioner to say that Major League Baseball as a whole is going to lose money if there's no salary cap. I don't feel like that's the effective position here. I feel like the effective position for the commissioner would be all 30 teams have a shot at the pie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's the right positioning for this.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, there's just so many other ways to do it. And I think you could put more teeth in the, I mean, NBA is really convoluted, but like the aprons and how many years you are above the luxury tax, like the MLB does have a system there. They could just put more teeth into it, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I think there's ways to do it, and I know competitive balance is the leading reason behind it, but I don't think that's necessarily the leading reason why they're trying to sell it to players. Because
Based on
again,
what
I
he's
go back to that
articulating,
Castellanos
it's
quote.
not. That's the big thing to me. Based on what the commissioner is articulating, it's not the driving factor, although I feel like it should be.
Yeah, it should be. Because like I go to the Castellanos nail salon quote, and it's like, how did that even come up, right? Like, because he must have been using the viability of the business side of things, which is
Right.
like, that's silly to me, because as you know, you could be losing money as a franchise, and like every year you could be losing tens of millions of dollars, and in 15 years you're going to make out just fine, because those MLB franchises are appreciating so well.
Right.
So
The overall valuation of a major league franchise climbs every
oh
single
my
year.
gosh, it's the best investment you can make. So, yeah, I think what it really boils down to, and I could just it gets me so rattled. It's just because to your point, we're a year and a half out of this shit, and we're already here. Like, we're already just creating this larger divide. And I think with Rob too, it's like you got to have a little feel, and maybe this isn't the time to be doing your clubhouse tours, and maybe what you're doing in those conversations
Yeah.
should be a little bit more planned out and a little bit more careful. I understand he probably went into the most charged clubhouse of vets and outspoken vets that he's going to see, and I do think that Harper probably fanned the fire a good bit, because even Castellanos tried to diffuse it apparently in the piece that said, I have more questions,
Right.
which is so funny, which means like Castellanos, if Rob said something like egregious or like whatever, Castellanos would have been the first to back Harper and say, yeah, get the F out of here too.
Right.
I'd imagine that Harper probably overreacted a little bit, because that said, I think you got to have some feel. And if you're really trying to work ahead of a potential lockout and avoid it. I imagine that that's not the way the conversation was presented. Otherwise, Harper wouldn't have reacted that way.
I would assume not, but we'll see. It's really convoluted. The fact that it got this testy with one of the most major markets in Major League Baseball this far out of a possible lockout is concerning. And you hope that it doesn't get to a boiling point a year and a half in advance, although it does feel like there's just a thundercloud over the momentum that baseball is building right now. And just tying a bow on your point about McGuire Sosa, like that reinvigorated the love for the game on the heels of the 94-95 lockout. That was synthetic. Like what we have is entirely natural, and it's Shohei Ohtani, and it's Ellie De La Cruz, and it's Skeens and Scooble. Like we have so many marketable players in Major League Baseball right now that are getting people to the ballpark and turning on television sets. And like you lose that momentum if you miss a month of baseball. And the fact that we're talking about missing 6 of baseball and we're without it for a year is terrifying, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I agree. And the last thing I'll mention here is the quote that was sourced and came out that of Harper saying, players are not scared to lose 162 games. I'd imagine that was not a player source.
Yeah, that's
And
terrifying. And that
so,
is a
but
Harper Boris Corp client that has a $300 million deal in his pocket.
yes. And I don't think that, and I think Harper is the right person to speak, for players. And I think he's the right person to lead the charge. But I
I
also think
I think he's one of the right people. Sorry to cut you off. I think
exactly.
he's one of the
Oh,
right
one of,
people to
that's a better
talk.
way to phrase it.
I
Yes.
think there is a pre-art
There's a
guy
lot.
that would love to have his say in here as well.
Scherzer, I'd love, like there's always a lot of guys. But the point is, that's not a comment I think any individual player has the ability to make on their
How do you think
own.
Rojas? How do you think Johan Rojas felt hearing Harper
Yeah,
say that?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
shit.
I mean,
I don't know.
I was even thinking about like, dude, like guys that just broke into the big leagues. Like they don't want to miss a full season.
Right,
I,
Otto
I I could
Kemp.
speak to. I have friends that definitely don't want to miss 162. I'm sure they join the player's effort for the greater good, but they're scared to lose it. You
Course.
can't speak for that. I know people that would be scared to lose 162. It's important to them. So no, I don't think you can say that. But I also think we're already seeing the strategic sharing of information. Like, where did that come from? Maybe it didn't, but theoretically, it would be beneficial for a league source to say, "Hey, like this is what Bryce Harper said. See, these players are just as much of the problem too." And that's what I'm not looking forward to as well. All of the strategic leaking of info, all that bullshit. Like we're already getting there, and I hope that maybe this sparks better conversations, but we'll see.
We shall see. I do want to talk about Seth Lugo real quick because Seth Lugo just signed his extension to take him off the trade market. And we talked about Kansas City off the top of the show, but I've got the details from Ian Rogers, who does great work for MLB.com. Seth Lugo's extension worth a guaranteed $46 million for 2 years, $20 million in 26, $20 million in 27. There's a vesting option that's worth $20 million or a club option for 17 with a $3 million buyout. Lugo also gets a $3 million signing bonus. So he's covered through 26 and 27, and then he's in a pretty solid position in 2028. Seth Lugo is 35 years old, and he's signing pretty much another 3-year deal, which is amazing. It shows you that Kansas City trusts what this guy does at the front of their rotation. It also shows you that Kansas City is committed to winning in the window of Bobby Witt Jr.'s early to mid 20s,
Yeah.
which is the coolest thing to me. They have their star. They have their superstar. Time to win with him.
Yeah, and I think the injury to well now Bubic hurt as well, but I think having Reagans go down where you're really concerned about his ability to just come back and be Cole Reagans, and I really hope he is. But you look at the team just trying to compete in the next couple of years. Okay, Michael Walker's solid. Noah Cameron looks like a rising fantastic arm for you. But who are you really going to lean on next year if you want to just even try to have a wild card chase? Like you don't know what you're going to get from Cole Reagans. You have two of your best pitchers with strained rotator cuffs, and Reagan's double TJ strained rotator cuff, Bubic off of TJ strained rotator cuff. You don't know. So yes, you are locking up a 35-year-old here, but I love it because and Peter and I went back and forth on this a little bit because I think Peter was looking at the underlying numbers, but like Lugo's been phenomenal for the last 3 years. And I mean, we'll see. if he can maintain this next year as well. But I mean, we're talking about a guy where his last 3 years, really since becoming a starter, he's got a 3.17 ERA in 466 innings. It's really 2.5 years. I He's just in a model of consistency. He was a Cy Young runner-up last year.
Yeah. Cy Young runner-up last year. The expected numbers will never love him, I'm sure, but at the end of the day, he keeps guys off the barrel. And he does that by throwing 10 pitches. And there's really no guessing game that you win with Lugo. I had a good conversation with a couple of players leading up to seeing Lugo after the All-Star break. And, we just asked, like, how do you beat him? And it's not by forecasting a pitch because you're always going to lose that game if you forecast a pitch. You have to forecast a spot. You have to pick a location to attack, and you adjust to spin, you adjust to slower speeds. Like, he has so many different iterations of pitches where they fit into like 3, 4 buckets, but there are like 3 branches off of one of those buckets that creates a 10 pitch mix for him. I've never seen a slow curve before on Baseball Savant until you look at Seth Lugo. So it's not about picking pitches, but we're in a game where you pick pitches. Like, oh, I'm sitting splitter because that's what this guy goes to in this spot. I watched Kodai Senga on Sunday Night Baseball. Senga is one of my favorite guys to watch because everybody knows in a pitcher-friendly count, the ghost fork is coming, and it's going to be strike to ball. He's going to start it at the knees. It's going to drop low, and he still gets disgusting swings from Pat Bailey and Brett Wisely and Jung-Hoo Lee. It looks like crap. That's the kind of the magic of Senga because you know it's coming and you can't hit it. Lugo is different than that because you have no idea what's coming. You got to pick a location, and you don't do that against anybody else in the game.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot, and that's why I think it ages well because that'll work at 91 and just mixing and matching and executing. And the last thing I'll mention on him is you look at some of the pitchers that got QOs last year, and I know he's been good, but like a Nick Pivetta, and some of the pitchers that have gotten 1 year, 18, $19 million. Like Lugo essentially got the QO for next year, the QO for 27,
Yeah.
and then a club option for really cheap 17 million for an innings eating starting pitcher. He could be a 4.3 ERA on the tail end tapering off. And if he gives you 180 innings, that's worth $17 million. So I think it's a great deal for the Royals, but it's also a great deal for Seth Lugo to really secure those earnings now where like he was at, I think 48 million in career earnings. It's going to put him like at 100 million. And I think you're quite happy with that given the fact that he was a reliever a few years ago.
And not bad for a 35th round pick out of
34.
Centenary College, 34th round pick out of Centenary College.
32nd pick.
Centenary College in Shreveport, Louisiana. I read a great article from like the local paper. I'm blanking on what it was called, the Shreveport Bossier something. He was almost cut after his freshman year from Centenary College's baseball team because his work ethic was not good. The coaches had a problem with his level of work that he put in. And apparently there were seniors on that baseball team that were begging. It's like, no, this guy's really talented. Give him another shot. And he had a, quote, come to Jesus meeting. And that is what pushed him to a 2-year contract extension when he's 35 years old with the Kansas City Royals.
That's so cool. I mean, the difference of like not even finishing college baseball to making 100 million in the show could just be something as simple as that first domino.
Yes, it's amazing. Okay, we're going to get to kind of the contention ladder in a moment, but before that, I want to tell you about our friends at Ethos Life Insurance. And since our last read, I think I've added a couple more grays. I'm going to get really close to the camera. Look at that. Do you see the side of my head? I look like crap, man.
No, I think you look fantastic.
Again,
that is a little gray, though. That is a little gray.
It's a little gray. And again, what if I die?
Distinguished.
A little bit. And, it's scholarly, but at the end of the day, scholarly people, they perish too, and I got to make sure that my fiance is protected. We got to tie the knot before anything happens to me, though, and the stress gets to me. But I'm going to do that by trusting my friends at Ethos Life Insurance. They're an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. No complicated process. It's 100% online. There's no medical exam required. You just answer a few health questions, get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. Life insurance, more affordable than you think. With Ethos, you can get a free quote, customize a rate that fits your budget. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies as low as $2 a day, billed monthly. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/justbaseball. That's ethos, ethos.com/justbaseball. Contention ladder. Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Here's how I want to do this. I want to clump them as is, work to do, soft sell, sellers. This is our final check before the trade deadline. So I've got my handy dandy list of teams that I wrote down on this notepad here. And I want you, off the top of your dome, to tell me the teams that you feel like are World Series contenders as is right now. And the only thing they're going to do at the deadline is look for a bench piece or another reliever, and we're fine.
World Series contenders as is.
World Series contenders as is. Who are they?
Is there one? The Dodgers?
I think the Dodgers are probably a World Series contender
Because
as
they're
is.
going
And
to
I know
get like
that,
Blake Snell's coming back and
right. And here's the thing, like I'm looking at as is like, okay, they're probably going to do something, but they don't need to. If something falls through in the next 3 days, they're still at the top of the league.
well, and I was reading the Jeff Passan's deadline guide, and like, he was kind of citing teams by all in, like kind of in or whatever. And in his words, he said the Dodgers, understandably, they're not worried at all, about they're not being the best team in Major League Baseball right now because they know what they're getting back and they know the talent that they have. And I think that's fair. Even though I made the comment about that they'd be third in the Central, that was more just to say that you don't have I think a team lapping everybody else in the regular season, but we'll see what it looks like in the playoffs. I think the Dodgers feel very confident because I think a lot of the needs that you would point towards, they have internal options for that. I think you could always say, okay, you can add a high leverage reliever. Any team can use Yohan Duran. Any team can use some of those guys. But as is, Snell, by the way, back-to-back rehab outings, his fastball's average 96. And he has struck out 13 and 8 2/3 innings, allowed just one run, and that's in the PCL, by the way, in Sacramento and in Reno. So one of those was a major league stadium he pitched at. So I think they're pretty much as is. They can win the World Series, but you go beyond them. Is there another team that fits that designation fully?
I think Milwaukee is probably there, to be honest, with the pitching depth that they have. Like that bullpen, the length that they have there with Hoskins coming back, they get a little bit of thump returning. Andrew Vaughn somehow has been a revelation for them.
I love that you got a front row seat for that.
I hated it personally, but
Yeah,
thanks
yeah,
for acknowledging that.
yeah.
I do feel like Milwaukee and Chicago are probably there, but again, like there is work to do, maybe with
But I could see it because if you're saying like what's the best case scenario as is, they are going to get more arms back. As you mentioned, they're going to get Hoskins back. They've got, I mean, a bunch of different bench pieces they can plug and play. If Joey Ortiz is even semi close to league
he's been
average,
bad, but it's not like you're
he's been
replacing
horrible.
Ortiz. It's not like you're trading for a shortstop.
No, you're not going to. So if he's just anything close to decent, if William Contreras isn't below average offensively,
Yeah,
Jackson Chorios, you got a front row seat to that. I mean,
he's
you
a
kept saying like,
superstar at this point.
please get this guy out of here. Like, don't pitch to him, and they didn't finally the last time. Yelich, you hope hits his stride a little bit more as well. I think you could talk yourself into this team because of the pitching and because of the bullpen and enough offense being good enough to get there. I could agree with that.
So
Um,
I've got Dodgers, Milwaukee. I also have Philly in that clump.
Philly, yeah, and I think Philly is a good one too. Again, all these teams have holes. Every team ever is going to have a hole. World
Right,
Series teams you can upgrade
right.
that have won the World Series every single year. You could find an upgrade. But yeah, I think those teams, if they didn't do anything crazy, I could still talk myself into them being able to do it. I'd put them in that conversation as well. Are the Mariners still just not there yet offensively?
I don't think they're there yet offensively. I think they got to do something else. I don't think
Uh,
there's a single team in the American League that fits this criteria.
which is so crazy.
Are the
But
Mets
yeah,
there?
their offense is. But I mean, they've won 7 in a row.
Yeah.
The Mets are pretty close.
If we're putting the Phillies in that clump, we should
Yeah, the
probably put
Mets
the
got to
Mets
be
in
there
that
too.
clump.
Yeah, but I think that's it. And again, all these teams I still think need to do something because the other ones are going to do something. But if
Yeah.
everybody did nothing, I think that's the fair clump.
Yeah. Okay. So before we get to the work to do clump, which will be much, much larger than the as is clump, Did get a tweet from Jeff Passan, and this is the beauty of recording the Just Baseball show at 11:55 a.m. I'm going to read this to Aram, and I want him to just listen to it. Breaking: Cleveland Guardians closer Emmanuel Clase has been placed on non-disciplinary paid leave as part of Major League Baseball's sports betting investigation. Sources tell ESPN Clase is the second Guardians pitcher on leave tied to the investigation, joining right-hander Luis Ortiz. Emmanuel Clase is on paid leave as part of Major League Baseball's sports betting investigation. That is an anvil into the Just Baseball show. That's an anvil to Major League Baseball. Clase was the premier trade chip if the Guardians were going to do that. He's also one of the best closers in Major League Baseball. And if he's being a moron, what the hell?
Oh, my God.
I have no remorse for this stuff. I have no remorse. Be smarter. And I can't accuse him of anything just yet. I can't accuse Luis Ortiz, even though that spiked 0-0 pitch with a ton of betting traffic is very
Weird.
It kind of shows your hand. I have no remorse for this, and I feel terrible for Guardians fans, but be better.
Oh,
Just be better.
This would be so bad. This would be so bad. I thought you were going to tell me you got traded.
Nope.
Oh, my God. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Let's wait and see. But how do you even get implicated? It's just so easy to not even be implicated.
Just pitch. Just pitch. Just control what you do.
Yeah, it's a very team-friendly contract, but I still can promise you there's no way you can make more money doing that if that's what you're doing. It's crazy. And the thing is, too, with it being, like we talked about, with it being legal, it is so, and all of the frameworks in place to track these kind of things, it's never been more difficult to get away with it. Stop. I hope it's just a like proximity thing. They're just doing their due diligence, and we'll see. But optics, usually, like, you're not going to put a guy on leave unless you've got some strong concerns, right? Because, like, you just wouldn't want to risk the optics of it. So we'll see. But my goodness, what are we doing?
There's just nothing to analyze here either, because
no, just analyze my anguish, please.
Dude, I mean, holy hell. It's unbelievable.
I think the league needs to do a better job, and I maybe they feel like they are doing it already. They need to do a better job of clearly defining what the rules are and what the repercussions are if you even toe the line of breaking those rules.
Dude, Pete Rose is the all-time hit king, and he's not in.
I know, but I think they need to
how much more clear do you need to be? Don't bet on this shit.
Yeah. Making so much money. The minimum is $760 something thousand, right? Like, just it's crazy. But soft buyers or soft sellers?
Work to do. Not soft buyers, legit buyers. I don't know if there's such a thing as a soft buy here. I guess Kansas City is kind of embodying.
Yeah, Kansas City would be your soft buy.
But, like, I'll just clump them in the work to do. The work to do, there's going to be a lot of teams here that fit this criteria, and the best one that we haven't talked about yet is the Chicago Cubs. Like, they are the best work to do team in baseball, where they are not. If they stand pat, they're a starting pitcher shy of being a World Series favorite.
Yep.
They're also a couple bullpen pieces shy of being a World Series favorite. I think their lineup is totally fine as is. I understand that they were doing their due diligence on some third baseman, but, like, Matt Shaw is playing out of his mind right now.
He's balling.
You're okay.
Since the All-Star break, he's been, I think, the best hitter in baseball, or one of. I mean, he's
Nick
been
Kurtz.
fantastic.
I have Nick Kurtz on line one.
Oh, yeah, shoot. Yeah, I forgot about the Barry Bonds. But last 9 games for Matt Shaw, 4 homers. I understand Kurtz did that in one game. 444, 464, 963 slash line. He's only struck out once in that span. Clearly, something's clicked for him. So if Matt Shaw is a 90 WRC plus for you at third base with plus defense and he swipes bags, you do not need to address third base. That's why I've been surprised to see Cubs fans still wanting to, go get Gino. They just need a starting pitcher. That's it. And probably a leverage arm. But I just want a leverage arm and a starting pitcher, and I think you're in good shape.
I think so too. San Diego, work to do. They need some offensive help, man. 7 through 9. I was checking this out when San Diego was in Miami. 7 through 9 by OPS, second worst in baseball only ahead of the Chicago White Sox. 1 through 6, I've got no problems with. And Jackson Merrill is correcting after missing some time with that concussion. He was really
Yeah.
bad after that. But you feel like slowly but surely he's going to get right.
Mm-hmm.
1 through 6, I have no problem. But you look at the bottom third of that lineup, and it is a black hole for San Diego. They need to get better there.
I don't think it's hard to do so either. Like, we've talked about it. They don't need to go acquire a superstar. Like, just it doesn't have to be the Jaron Duran trade. Just go get a couple decent bats, and you'll be in a lot better of a position. You just watched. They just played the Marlins. How many of the names that were getting rolled out in corner outfield, like respectfully, were you like, are these guys starting on a playoff team?
Trenton Brooks pinch hit with the game on the line.
Yep, I was watching that one. That was
Trenton
one of those
Brooks?
where it's like he's having a great year in AAA. Yeah, appreciate what he's doing there. It's great to hit your way to the show at 30 years old, but too many reps for Bryce Johnson and Trenton Brooks. Martin Maldonado, he's not even calling a good game. There was a sequence. I was listening to you guys on the radio, and then I went back and watched it because I was like, that sounds like a terrible sequence. Who was it against? It was, I think it was Heriberto Hernandez, where I believe it was, I'm trying to remember exactly what the sequence was, but went, I think, with the wrong pitch type, teed off on. I even think Nelly hit on it a little bit too. And there's been a lot of instances. I was talking to some people on the that are Padres fans, and you might the account Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah.
Guy's great. He can't stand Maldi, and I DM'd him right after. I was like, dude, he's not even calling a good game. It's like, don't get me started. But like, I don't understand why you're rolling with 39-year-old Maldi. Who's doesn't even seem like he's handling the staff that well. He's negative WAR. He's a 560 OPS, and then Elias Diaz is just as bad. Like a serviceable catcher and a serviceable left fielder puts this team in a much better situation.
Of course. And again, it does not need to be Jaron Duran. It can be somebody else.
No, because the rest of the team's going to do what they do. Like
Yeah.
Xander's actually playing all right.
I will say a hybrid makes a lot of sense for me for San Diego. Like they can get out of the Robert Suarez money and they can move a Robert Suarez for that guy that works. And it can be a contender with contender trade.
Yep.
Team needs a closer. Robert Suarez can be on the trade market. I watched Randy Vasquez go 4 1/3 in a 1-run Padre win because they call them the Four Horsemen. Like they went to Morajon, Estrada, Adam, Suarez, and it was good night. It was amazing to watch. And if you shrink it by one and you add in like a Daniel Morgan who throws fuzz and a Yuki Matsui situationally, they don't really skip a beat there. So I can absolutely see that moving.
Yeah, dude, if they got Rob Refsnyder,
oh yeah,
like he would make them so much better in the corner. It's crazy.
San Francisco, work to do. Obviously, I think they probably need a starter, and then they just need offensive help too.
I just think some offensive help. But their big move was Devers, and he's playing first base now, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
I really do think Casey Schmidt has emerged as a solid piece for them at second base. So you maybe don't have to address that as aggressively. The thing is, like, is it DH spot really? Like, or just kind of corner outfield, I think. And I'd like to funnel Ramos through the DH spot a little bit more consistently if I were.
Yeah, but I love his bat.
Giants. But that's really it. What?
But I love his bat.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then just a starter, right? I mean, I'm looking at roster resource right now. They have 3 starters in the rotation right now.
Happy debut for Carson Wisenhunt. That comes this week.
Oh, he's coming. He's getting a shot.
He's getting a shot.
What do you think? 50% changeup usage in the first start?
Probably. Yeah. A little Marco Estrada throwback.
It's a great changeup, but there's not much else. So, I mean, yeah, that they're gonna need to go get something, especially with Landon Rupp. Is it Rupp?
I think it's Rupp.
Rupp. He was throwing really well with him hurt. I think you could justify not even doing anything offensively because you could give Eldridge a shot in a little bit too. I would, if you had to make one move, it's pitcher.
Yeah. Toronto, work to do. They need probably
Peter
another
says
arm.
Nothing.
What?
Peter says nothing.
I disagree with Peter. I think they could use some pitching help here.
He says maybe a bullpen arm. I do hear him on the starting pitching front because it's like, who do you bump out right now? You could say Scherzer, but dude, Scherzer's starting to throw the shit out of the ball. And he smacks Scherzer.
Scherzer scares me, and I've loved watching it. Lauer scares me when you get into October.
It also, like, do you trust Chris Bassett in October?
And
But so
no,
if you need
not
an arm
really.
that you can trust in October, that means you're going to need to pay a pretty penny. Like
Yeah,
you need an
yeah.
impactful arm.
And I think they could do that. So Toronto, I will put them in the work to do clump. Yankees, work to do. They still need probably another starting pitcher with all the injuries that they have at this point.
I would say another starting pitcher. Yeah, we're seeing Stroman get regular starts, and I mean you're not going to trust Will Warren, and Schlittler's getting, and I think he's great, but
Yeah.
it's a lot on Rodon and Fried right now. They are going to get Heel back, so that part's good. But yeah, I would say starting pitcher, and then probably what do you go get one more bat? Like where's the area where you would? Cause I don't even know what you would do right now, and you're still also waiting for clarity on Judge and what that situation is.
McMahon and Rosario, I actually thought was a decent patchwork job by them if they're
We
not going to get
agree.
Suarez.
I agree. I think that works well for them. Do you just roll with that offense?
You could roll with that offense, but they probably need some pitching help, and you're never going to say no to a setup guy.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that honestly, we were talking about that. I think you need a starting pitcher for sure. But I think you could go more reliable innings eater because if you go Rodon, Fried, Heel in the postseason, you got a pretty good shot. I
yeah.
think in those games. I, where I get really nervous is when you go to leverage and whoever, and then Weaver and Williams. That if you can make one move, I think it's leverage arm.
Yeah, let's eliminate the whoever and go get somebody else. And frankly, like, it's not like Devin and Weaver are throwing to the point where you can't shove them back an inning. Like, why couldn't Ryan Helsley be a good New York Yankee for half a season?
I love that shout. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that shout, and they're gonna really enjoy getting Fernando Cruz back soon, hopefully.
Yes, they will, but it's not going to eliminate a possible eighth or ninth inning guy
No,
for you
no,
at the
no, no,
deadline.
no.
Boston, work to do.
What do they do? What are they doing? Like
I don't
they
know.
have work to do, but like, do they care about the work that they need to do? Is
I
it just buying with control? Is it
feel like they do. They're in the market for a starter for sure.
controllable? I'd imagine, right?
Controllable starter.
Yeah, I think that's really it, right? Controllable starter.
That's probably
The
it.
offense doesn't need anything.
You're not looking for a first base upgrade, are you?
Right. Honestly, no, I think you can piece it together right now because, like, unless it's just a low cost rental, like, sure, I could see that, but I think you're okay with it. Like, I think at the end of the day, you still want to have Casas ready to go next year, so you don't want to get a guy with control and block him.
Would you pay an in division premium for Ryan O'Hearn?
I don't think so because, like, I think you're fine with it. Like a Toro Romy Gonzalez platoon isn't the sexiest thing in the world, but I think it works.
I wanted to nod and say I agree, but I kind of disagree. Like if O'Hearn is out there, he was an all star this year, but again, it's in division, so
Yeah,
it's not like you're
I mean,
giving up a
it's worth canvassing, but if you're going to allocate resources, it'd probably be towards
pitching.
starting pitcher.
Pitching. Houston, work to do. Where's the work?
That's another team where I don't know exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to get so many arms back though. Like Christian Javier's already on rehab, throwing the ball pretty well. I hope Eric Getty's going to be back sooner rather than later. I know they're interested in adding an arm, but I don't know if they need that as much as they potentially need a bat. And I think it's just getting another reliable outfield bat.
Probably. I'm looking at like the corner outfield as well. I know Cam Smith holds down right every single day. But I mean, center too, even with Trammell. Like, I wonder what a Luis Robert matchup would look like.
Yeah, that would be a fun one because Jake Myers, like once he comes back, you've got him back out there, and hopefully, it won't be too long with the strained calf, and he was playing at a pretty high level. But I don't know with Jordan out, I think that's a good like shot to take for them. That's
Yeah.
an upside play because they don't want to. They're not going to buy aggressively,
No,
right? They're trying to build. I think sustainable winning here and this reshuffle. So the cheap quote unquote shots, I think that would be a good one to be able to take.
I was ready to say Detroit was a contender as is, but the way they're sliding right now, they are not a contender as is. I mean, you go with the starting pitcher, obviously. You've got Troy Melton in this rotation as it stands right now. Everybody else is throwing the ball well except for Flaherty. Do you feel good about Jack Flaherty starting a postseason game for you? I guess you
Good
have to.
enough. Good enough. He looked okay last time out. I think what's interesting too with him with that team is Peter and I talked about it last episode. Like center field and shortstop are so bad right now because Javi's come back down to earth and Meadows hasn't been good. You're almost better off platooning those two guys in center field and maybe trying to get a shortstop or getting a third baseman and then maybe sliding McKinstry over. So I would just say bat that allows you to lessen the responsibilities of Meadows um and Javi Baez.
Okay, so Chris Taylor 3 years ago.
Yeah, or just if a guy can play one of those positions, then yeah, you can just platoon, yeah, platoon Javi Baez. And I think the idea of having Baez and Meadows in the lineup together is a little tough.
Yeah. Seattle, work to do. I still think they're a bat or two away.
Yep. And just whatever bat you can get. Third base still, I think, is the clear spot.
I
Can
just
you
don't
get
know if
Gino?
they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna be in the Geno sweepstakes, although they should be.
Two rentals is not doesn't scream Depoto, but
No.
they are a little desperate. It would surprise me, but you never know. But I do think they need another bat, and preferably corner infield.
All of a sudden, Texas seems to be a buyer. Texas needs some offensive help.
They definitely don't need pitching.
The catcher, like catchers aren't out there. I would love to see a catcher just take over for Higashioka and Heim. It won't happen because there's no available trade to be made there. Um, where do you feel like they could use some help?
I think the bullpen still, right? I
Okay.
mean, I would like to see that bullpen fortified a little bit more. But in terms of the starting pitching, they are more than fine. I almost feel like this team is so talented. We talked about it going into the year. Like their move can just be guys playing to their ability, which we're kind of seeing. Like they can pretty much hold pat. And this is a team that could make a run. Like we talk about teams that need to add and like I don't it would be weird to mention a wild card team as a team that doesn't need to do much and can win the World Series. But if there's a team that's not in first place that has the most upside, I think it's probably the Rangers. Would that be fair to say? Other than
Absolutely.
like the Mets Phillies combination, obviously.
Well, and then
But
the Brewers Cubs combination
in the
too.
Brewers
But
Cubs combination. So I'd say in the American League.
in the AL, I absolutely think so. We talked about it to your point, like during spring training, this might have been the biggest wild card in Major League Baseball.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think a bat that maybe fits a role can help. But I mean, if everybody's playing to their ability, this is a team that can absolutely just make a run on its own. And we're already kind of seeing that now.
Yeah, a couple more teams that have to be in this criteria because the next one is soft sell. Work to do. I mean, the Reds are clearly interested in pursuing this, so they've got work to do. They probably need an outfield bat or a DH, and then they need some bullpen help for real. Because I love Emilio Pagan, but aside from that, it's not great.
No, I agree with that. I think bullpen help though, and Tony Santillan is it
Tony Santillan, yeah.
Santillan? Like he's been good this year, and they've used the living shit out of him. But then like that's like kind of it. They've got two guys. Rogers has been pretty good, but I think I think a bullpen arm, and then offensively too. I know Noelvi Marte's been good. I honestly look at the outfield and I'm just like, how much do you trust the? How much longer can we do this fraily thing? Like I think you could upgrade there a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'd go outfield help. But just a bat in general. I think I mean if you can upgrade third base, great. I think they'll probably try for Gino, but they're probably not going to want to give up for the pieces that they want. But a bat that could just go nuclear in Great American Ballpark is I think what could push them across.
Yeah, a couple more teams in the soft sell category now as we pivot here to kind of the other half of Major League Baseball. Although we're at north of half now, which makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of teams in it. Tampa Bay is the best soft sell team in baseball right now. And you alluded to this off the top of the show. They're floating Taj Bradley, who just got option. Did we talk about that on the show? I don't think we
Yeah,
did.
Peter and I did. It was just like kind of like a unique decision given that you're floating him now, but
So for me, like having Fetty and Taj Bradley pop up, like having those situations pop up on the same day, they were both head scratchers because you said, "Hey, Fetty's fielding trade interest," and then you DFA him.
yeah. No
Why
one
would you
wanted him, I guess.
DFA him if you could possibly get out via trade? And then Bradley, trade interest. Well, it's harder to trade a AAA pitcher. That just got
Yeah,
option than it is a big leaguer.
yeah. The optics of that were kind of surprising, but I guess they're just gonna say, oh, it was just because we needed some innings here and whatever. But it's definitely weird. 'Cause he wasn't throwing that bad. He had a bad start, but he wasn't throwing that bad before that. Yeah, that one was weird. I we saw the report from Ken Rosenthal that they're more willing to listen on Yandy and Peter and I talked about this one where I think you just move Brandon Lau. I think you keep Yandy. You still have him under control. The contingency of first baseman that we were so excited about. Xavier Isaac's been out since June. Trey Morgan was hurt to start the year and hasn't been that great. He's been fine, but the underlying data doesn't look as good. I, I think you need Yandy next year too, with where the team's at right now. So I think you move Lau, and that's it. And maybe an arm or two, of course, as they always do. But
Okay.
I think that's your soft sell. Keep Yandy.
With the Cleveland closer being on the paid leave list now because of possible gambling implications, Cleveland is no longer work to do. They are soft sell.
But do you like because of that? Like you can't really move a Kate Smith now because like what if
Of
what
course
if
not.
yeah what if he gets banned? Like what if he gets the Marcano treatment?
Right.
What if he's suspended for the year? Like you just don't know what's going to happen next year. So I think you have to stand pat on your reliever arms, and then like what bats are you moving? It's really just going to be Carlos Santana.
Santana, I listen, if you get blown out of the water for Quan, I think at this point you got to entertain
Now,
that.
now, now you got to start listening a little bit more. You think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Quan makes more sense on their team than any others. I think he's more valuable to them than anybody else. But if somebody gets desperate, sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the only piece of like that I think they can really sell off here that they're going to get anything for that they should sell is Santana. And then, I mean, you look at the starting pitching situation. There's no one really to move there. Maybe they move one of the lower down the line reliever arms, but
Yeah.
other than that, I don't really know. Maybe somebody takes a flyer on Lane Thomas for almost nothing because he's been so bad this year
Yeah.
and hurt. But yeah, they don't really have much to do. I think they're going to be pretty dormant.
A couple other teams in the soft sell department. The Angels all of a sudden are soft sellers instead of just true sellers. The Angels, it feels like they're kind of building a nucleus to get closer to competing next year. Like all of a sudden you look and they're only what 2-3 games under 500.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. They're just always find a way to like hover their way back in there, and you just don't know what they're going to do, and then they end up buying because they're the Angels. So I don't know. I don't think you subtract much there. It just doesn't seem like what they do.
Yeah.
But they're 5 games out. I think anytime they're within five, they just seem to still want to add, if
Right.
anything. I think they add with control, maybe, right? Like that's a kind of team that
Sure.
could add find a buy low opportunity or add a starting pitcher with control. But they definitely just need starting pitching.
Yeah. Soft sell St. Louis.
Yeah, I think especially now. I mean, we'll see how much they want to push it up against the deadline there. But Ryan Helsley came out and said probably 90% chance I'm traded, which is weird. Uh, which I understand though. I, I think I think they end up just trimming Helsley, maybe a vet arm or so, but I don't see like I've seen people talk about Brendan Donovan, things like that. I don't see a reason to do that. This team could be good next year.
Yeah.
The one I do think is worth watching, I gave a shout before, is Wilson Contreras. I think you can get a pretty good return for him. You get out from that money. It's not a bad contract,
Yeah.
but you get out from that money for Heim Bloom to kind of give out his own contracts maybe in free agency this year. And I just don't think first base is a position that they're too worried about being able to fill back up again.
No, because you could probably just put Jordan Walker there, and that's his last
And just
chance.
and just yeah, and that's his last shot.
Yeah. All right. Like that. That kind of seems like the cheaper way to go about this, and you can, to your point, get a return for Wilson Contreras. Because at the end of the day, how many first basemen are better than Wilson Contreras in Major League Baseball right now?
Not a ton.
Not a ton.
Not a ton. I was trying to make the case for him being like top five going into this year, and he's really, I think, gotten going now. After a slow start, I think a
Yeah.
lot of teams would like to add a Wilson Contreras.
Yeah. Another soft seller, Fighting Fish. The Fish have elevated themselves, it seems like, and there's absolutely zero intel from me coming on this. It seems like they've elevated from, oh, sell everything, right? To all of a sudden now it's like, hey, maybe retain some pieces because you can kind of see this building forward into next year and at the end of this year, like running through the tape. Who knows what the rest of the season looks like for the Miami Marlins, but it does seem like they could be incentivized to hold on to a couple more people that were viewed as
Yep.
slam dunk trade assets even 3 weeks ago.
Yep. I'll take the reins here, and you can just
I'm going to
smile and
nod. Yeah, I'm going to
nod.
smile and nod.
But I think with what they've done and what you can see with this core, I mean, they've been one of the best teams in baseball over the last month and a half, right? You probably have the exact numbers there. Don't nod. You can actually answer this.
No, I mean,
This
they were
is
20-8 over the last 28 games, I think, since June
That's
22nd.
insane. It's
Yeah.
insane. And this isn't a pretty, serious part of the season where teams are kicking it into gear. You have more arms that you're excited about. You also have guys in the minor leagues that are shoving though, so I think that does push a little bit up towards the uppers where you have Robbie Snelling who's touching
Can I,
98.
yeah, can I just shout out the Saturday that was in the Marlins
Yes.
organization? They beat the best team in the National League in Milwaukee, and meanwhile you've got Snelling going 6 2/3 with 11 punch outs and no walks, and then you've got Thomas White going 5 innings of 2 hits, scoreless ball with 14
14.
Ks in 5 innings, 15
Yep.
outs in 5 innings, 14 via punch out. So you had your top two pitching prospects in White and Snelling combine for 25 punch outs and no walks on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a good day. And so that side of things I think makes it interesting where you could maybe justify clearing up a little bit of space in the rotation because I think Snelling could be up after the deadline. I don't. He's so polished that I don't think it's rushing him. But what I would do at this point, you move Jesus Sanchez. You have Jacob Marcy, who hit about 460, by the way, in
Yeah.
AAA yesterday.
Holy smokes. I had no
To
idea
play
you could do that.
a great center field, so you could just plug him in right away, get some pieces back potentially for Jesus Sanchez, and then I would hold Sandy, who just is coming off of his best start in a while. Then you have him next year as well at 17 million, and that could be kind of like your soft buy, as we were talking about with Peyton, our video guy, and then Edward Cabrera is probably the guy I cash in on. And I think you could still say we're trying to win and make a run here while cashing in on a guy that's been on the injured list 12 plus times in his professional career and is pitching unbelievably well. But again, you have other arms on the way. I think this is a sell high opportunity. If you're keeping Sandy, I think it makes it a lot easier to move Edward, both optically and team wise. And then you have your young guys coming up. You replenish the farm system, that the team is still pretty set up to not wave the white flag on a season where, hey, you're 6 back and playing good ball, and then you're set up nicely for next year too. So that's the way I do it. And maybe they trim a bullpen arm or two because they got guys throwing well in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
But I would hold on to Sandy at this point. I really would.
Cool. All right, let's pivot to the sellers here to tie a bow on this thing. I've got some slam dunk sellers here, right? Colorado is just getting out of whoever, wants something from the Rockies, and they kind of signaled that with Ryan McMahon. Like, if a guy like McMahon's going to go, anybody can go, except for...
Yeah, I thought he was a Rocky for life.
Yeah, but not the case, I guess. So anybody can go. Arizona has shown their hand. They're selling. Based on the contract situations that are here, like, they'll sell Suarez, it seems like. They'll sell Kelly and Gallen if the price is right. I have them as sellers, not soft sell.
Can I give you a hot take for my Rockies?
Yeah, absolutely.
Our Rockies. I would consider moving Tovar. Because this organization is in such a bad place.
That's the only way you
more
kickstart
pieces.
it. Yeah.
This is how you kickstart. You could get. I know Tovar's not playing at a high level this year, but I know there's a lot of teams that could probably feel like they get their hands on Tovar and they can unlock a little bit more. He's striking out by far the least of his career. He's a superb defender. The ex-Woba to Woba gap is crazy. It's 375 versus 327. You could acquire the shortstop of your future. You're going to have to give up a haul. And I bet the Rockies, being the way that they are, they're going to say no shot. This is our franchise cornerstone. But I would give up a haul for Ezequiel Tovar if I don't have a good shortstop situation right now. And you could legitimately jumpstart this Rocky situation. They need so much more. Tovar's under contract through 2030, and this shit's not getting better by 2030. It's not. Like, maybe it'll get close to being where you want it to be, but it's a very team-friendly deal. They have no problem spending money anyways, so they can just go sign a free agent or whatever. Somebody asked in the Discord what I would do with the Rockies, and there's no other way to create legitimate assets. So I think this is the way you do it. I would consider it. I really would.
And I think Atlanta should really think about it. I think the Yankees should also think about it, but obviously they're doing the Lombard thing. I think Atlanta should really think about entertaining a Tovar deal if he
And
is
they could blow
somewhat of
them
a
away with arms that they
they
would
could,
never be able to get.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and that is how you get better with
Yeah.
Colorado. You trade for arms or you draft them.
Yeah.
Along that same line of thinking, Washington is a clear seller. Does it make sense for them to move a guy like Mackenzie Gore right now?
I said it before. I think it's the biggest middle finger to the fan base possible. I did also think that he had more than 2.5 years to control. So I do understand it a little bit more.
Are
But
they
the
winning in
idea
the
of
next 2.5 years?
probably not. And that's why I am walking it back a little bit, I guess, but I still do think it's a huge middle finger to the fan base. But at the same time, the haul that you can get for a 26-year-old lefty who's near the league lead in strikeouts with 2.5 years of control, I get it. It's just the idea of trading one of the best pieces from one of the most valuable pieces ever traded before you've even gotten back to being competitive again is a little bit frustrating. But
Yeah.
I guess you can point towards Abrams and Wood and say we're going to lock those guys up, and then look at that haul that we got for Gore as well. And then we're going to have Susana coming up, and I still think it's a middle finger to the fan base. But you know what? Sometimes you got to do bad optics to get to where you need to go, and I think you have to be blown away. Like we're talking Joe Ryan level blown away. And if that's the case, then I guess you consider it. But again, I still think that's you could probably justify this team being competitive in the next year if they make the right free agent signings and actually spend some money.
Yeah. And I think that is seven bullpen arms and probably two starters. Like it's going to
Yep.
cost them a lot of money in this free agent cycle and next free agent cycle, but I understand that there is a route to contention for Washington.
Yes. Yeah. Cruz is on his way back, and Susana's healthy. He struck out like 8 in 3 innings in one of his first starts back from elbow discomfort. Like that guy could be insane. Sakura could be. Both those guys could be up by next year.
Yeah. Yeah. And you could sign a guy like Michael King, who
Yep.
I still think is the perfect fit for Washington. Atlanta, listen, like it's not as clear cut a sell like any valuable piece as other teams, but Atlanta is just in sell mode at this point. It's not a soft sell this year. It's a who do you guys want? I'll give them to you as long as their name isn't Olson or Acuna. Like
Yep.
if somebody wants Albies, go ahead. If somebody wants Sean Murphy, go ahead. We got Drake Baldwin. If somebody wants Rysell, go ahead. If somebody wants Ozuna, please.
Yep. They said that they're not going to move Murphy, but I think if you get a good offer, I think you got to consider it because
I think
it
that'd
can.
be silly not to pick up the phone on Murphy.
Yeah, 100%. Even though I think you can plug into that, DH role and you split time at catcher, I think Albies is the guy they should really consider moving. Even though they'd be selling very low, I just think teams would still because it's not even just a buy low for this year and you hope he gets hot and a change of scenery. You have a chance next year at a very cheap deal to make it happen there too. So I think those are the guys that they should consider it a little bit more. Also, shout out Mike Harris. He brought his hands up in his stance, and I think it's yielding better results. Let's hope he keeps it going. But yeah, I think ultimately they should trim anybody that's older and uh, doesn't really fit into the next couple years.
Yeah. Minnesota is a seller at this point. Maybe not Joe Ryan seller, but it seems like Duran seller and, whoever anybody else wants.
I think that you should move Duran. I think that's the haul that you can get here to kind of jumpstart some things here and shake
Yeah.
it up a little bit. I think they should try to move Correa too. And I don't know if he would block that or, try not to move, but like there's a lot of teams that I think could use, even though he's not playing at the peak of his powers, he's still a really solid player.
Yeah.
He is one of the best postseason performers of all time. Like that's a guy that I think a lot of teams could use, and we'll see what the contract situation would look like. But I don't think the Twins would mind moving off of that. I don't know how many teams would be lining up to take that on is the challenge, but I think they should absolutely consider it.
I mean, bringing the Yankees up again, it feels like the Yankees would be a really good fit for a Carlos Correa.
Yep.
And it'd
Yep.
be hard for you to say no to a trade of the New
Bader's
York
going to get them a
Yankees.
sneaky haul with the way he's playing this year too.
Yeah, Bader's been playing well. And then the slam dunks the rest of the way. Baltimore, they're just going to move anybody that isn't Gunner or Holiday or Westberg. Like it's just okay.
Adley will be interesting. I don't think they should yet, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean they're going to move whoever like people call for that aren't like kind of the core four, core five in that lineup. And then the White Sox, they'll trade Robert and Hauser, call it a day. The A's, they'll trade Sevy if they get the right offer there. But
Yeah.
this lineup, like, there's too much control in this lineup to entertain moving anyone. And then Pittsburgh, shit, anyone not named Paul Skeens, Dennis Santana, you want him? Bednar, you want him? Go ahead.
Yep. And they better trade Bednar at this point. I mean, if they don't sell high on Bednar now, I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I don't know. So that's all 30 teams. We just designated everywhere that they got to go. So that was the program. Do you got anything else?
Uh, I want to shout out, I think the most underratedly nasty arm in baseball right now, Jack Perkins with the A's. That
Sure.
guy is disgusting. When we did the A system going into this year, that was a guy that I was gushing about. And I mean, he's been really nasty out of the bullpen for them. So I just wanted to give him some love there. That's all I really got though. I just watch that guy throw. It's disgusting. Very underrated. And then yeah, we had a really good time at Lids. It was really fun. Just meeting some people out there, some fans of the program, some fans of the Marlins and Griffin out there at the Boca Town Center. That was a blast, and we're going to be putting out a recap video. Pulling his rookie card was pretty cool. And then the top 100 is out by the time you're listening to this. Top 100 update, top 100 prospects. A lot of shaking up, new draftees in there as well. So check that out.
There we go. That's the program. Again, no show tomorrow, but we will recap some trades on Thursday morning leading into our deadline preview stream or our deadline stream on Thursday afternoon. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you on Thursday.